Okay, here we go. So, Bob Kingsbury is going to be our timer. So for the first introductions, we're going to start with Chris, and we're going to go all the way across. You've got 2 minutes for your opening statement, and he will show you at 1 minute, and then he'll show you at 30 seconds, and then he has a red, and we all know what that means. So we do need to keep this all really timely. So with that, Chris, tell us about yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I think this is a great turnout. I've been to a lot of events like this, not for myself, but for other candidates, and it's a very impressive turnout that so many people are interested in taking part. I'm going to just make a brief statement because of these times don't allow us to go too far afield, and I have a tendency to do that. But I want you to know that after watching the sham impeachment of our president by unhinged socialist Democrats, it's clear that Americans are facing a reckoning. Our republic either stands or falls with President Trump. My pledge to the voters of District 13 is straightforward. I will fight every day to advance the Trump Republican agenda, and I will do so as a courageous conservative for God and country.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is McArthur. I'm coming to you guys here from Dickens County, Spur, Texas. Many of y'all probably know who that is. It's on the southern central portion of the district. If you want to know more about me, because we don't have enough time for me to go into my biography, check out McArthurforCongress.com. What I intend to do in Congress is be a pragmatist voice, a very conservative one, but one that actually gets some things done. You're going to see me focus very heavily on infrastructure. These counties in Texas are growing at a rapid pace. We're not getting the road and bridge money back that we should from the federal government. We're still paying out way more than we get back in. That's going to be a major focus of mine, and it may be boring or not sexy for a politician, but if you've driven in any of our metro areas or even a lot of our rural counties, I think we can agree that that needs to be fixed. You're going to see me focus on some changes to the tax code. One is to make child support tax deductible. We need to focus on the families, not so much as we want them, but we need to be realists and focus on how they are. You're going to see me focus on Pell Grants, expand the amount that's paid and expand the amount of vocational programs they cover, because we need to fill the jobs we have. I'm going to be the guy that focuses on the nuts and bolts of the sausage making in Congress to try to make things better for this district. Thank you.
I'm Catherine Osware, Carr for Congress, and the reason why I ran is because I want to put Americans first with no exception, and that's why I'm here for you, and completely without exception. You're going to be put first. I'm actually friends with Donald Trump on Twitter, and I fought real hard for him, and I'm for his agenda completely. I also am for against the Virginia blue laws. I've been fighting extremely hard against those, because once they catch on fire, they go from town to town, city to city, state to state, and they must be shut down. These laws would prosecute parents, judges, police officers, citizens of all kinds, and we must stop this and support the Constitution and the Second Amendment. It's extremely important, and it must be fought by any means necessary. I'm also pro-life, and I think that we should rethink Roe versus Wade, because we now have ultrasound. We understand that the child, he feels pain, that he develops taste in the womb, that he is not what they have told us in the past when they lied to women and said, this is a tissue and nothing else. I personally know people that have lost their uterus over an abortion, and I'm tired of mutilation and the disrespect for women. We must tell the women the truth and stop funding Planned Parenthood and every frivolous thing that they are funding the taxes for, and bring this money back to our communities. We can use it for so much: education for children, for woodworking shops. I'd rather it spent on the people than waste it. In another country, we have the Afghan war. For 19 years, we've been in war, and we have wasted trillions of dollars of the American taxpayers' money, and it's time to stop these wars when we have been in them for 19 years, and they will not let us win them. And I appreciate your vote and your support. Thank you so much.
My name is Vance Snider. I grew up in Dumas, Texas, here in the district. It's now north of Amarillo. I currently live in Amarillo now. Shortly after high school, I went to the military for 5.5 years, served 2 tours overseas. Did 1 to Afghanistan, which my unit became the highest tech-rated unit in all of Afghanistan war to this day. We've had multiple documentaries and other things documented about this war in our deployment. We have 2 Medal of Honors, 8 Silver Stars, and we have 1 getting upgraded in Army Cross right now. Second tour is Kuwait. And shortly after military service, I came back home, started working for a short line railroad back home in Moore County. And I immediately moved back home to our district. After almost 2 years, I left to go work at BNSF Railway. That's where I currently work at now. I'm a railroad conductor, blue collar worker. My hands are rough, my boots are dirty, and I ain't scared to go out here and do what needs to be done for the people, and the regular people like us. More than 80% of our district is working class. And I believe that we need to be represented well. Not just Amarillo, not just Wichita Falls, it's all 41 counties, over 700,000 people. One thing that I really want to put in the agenda itself is overtime tax. You work more than 40 hours, anything after that 40 hours is taxed. You see maybe an eighth of that back after the taxes come out from the overtime. So you can push forward, you might see a little bit in the income tax in the following year. So I believe overtime tax does need to be eliminated for the working class. Another thing that continues to struggle is people that have retired and they're collecting their Social Security check, but yet it's taxed. That's another thing that does needs to be taken care of and eliminated is that Social Security tax for the working class Americans that have that money taxed hand over fist 4 to 5 times before they collect their retirement. So that's a couple of things that I really want to look forward to. And there's many other issues I'd like to tackle, but I can't tackle all in 2 minutes.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Monique, and I live in Wichita Falls, Texas. I was born in Wichita Falls, raised in Fort Worth until I was 16. Went out to Tulsa Job Corps, graduated Job Corps with a GED, came back to Wichita Falls and been living there ever since. I was working at Tyson Foods in Vernon, Texas until about June last year, and then when I got fired I got fired. I was a hard-working employee and they fired me. So when they fired me, I was like, what am I going to do now? And Mac Thornberry said he wasn't going to run again. So I said, well, I love politics, I love my party, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run for Congress. Now, what would set me apart from 15 to 50 people up here, I know how to count, it's 15. What would set me apart is I'm not a college graduate, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have a military background, although I did try to enlist one time, and they told me to lose 50 pounds and come back. So when they told me that, I said, if I lose 50 pounds, I'm gonna think I'm too fine to be in the military, so I'm not coming back. So after that, so I don't have a military background, I don't own a business, and I didn't come from money, I don't come from politics, anything like that. So my point in saying that is, try something different. As long as it's conservative, just try something different because we have all that. We got the millionaires, we got the business owners, we got the military vets, we have everything everybody represents up here in Congress already. What we don't have is somebody from the everyday communities. Somebody from the community, I come from welfare. Welfare is what I know. So I know what needs to be done to fix welfare. It actually didn't kill himself.
What if I told you that data proves that diabetes kills more people than all the gun deaths combined annually all around the world? But we don't see anybody trying to take our Snickers, do we? I believe in our Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. What if I told you that there are some people who put a higher value on terrorists' life than on the life of an unborn baby? I'm pro-life and will defend the rights of the unborn. What if I told you some of our moms, dads, grandmas, and grandpas need better health care and they can't afford to pay their medical bills? What if I told you there's folks in Congress right now that believe an illegal immigrant deserves free health care and our parents don't? I believe Obamacare and all the stuff they've done up there is broken, and our health care needs reform. What if I told you that we have veterans who have served our country honorably? They're out there living on the streets, going without food, needing medical attention. Some of them are killing themselves in despair. But yet, we have people in Congress sending billions of dollars overseas to people that want to kill us. I am a combat veteran and believe we should take care of our own sons and daughters first. My name is Rich Herman. Thank you for having me tonight. And God bless you. My time's up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Asusena Resendiz, and for those of you that didn't quite understand my first name, it's Asusena, actually Asusena. And I thought about it, and I really believe that the way I can get everyone to remember my name best is the way I taught my professors in Indiana, Oh, Susanna. Oh, don't you cry for me. But it's Asusena. So, Asusena, oh, don't you cry for me. That work? So, I just want to thank y'all again for the opportunity to be here. Once again, Asusena Resendiz. I would like to thank Congressman Thornberry for the years and years of service that he gave us here in the 13th. And I am going to say us because I was born in the 13th. I was raised in the 13th. And someone in Austin decided to draw an arbitrary line and cut Hell County out. But that's okay. We're still the 13th, and we really do represent one another. Now, what I represent is the Republican Party. I represent our values. I represent our conservatism. But being a Latina, a Hispanic, a Latina, it's a little tricky on my end because what we want to hear on one side is wall. What we want to hear on another side is no wall. Well, what I can bring is the importance of being a bilingual, bicultural, first-generation born immigrant here to the state that has had a successful career in not only the business community, in building businesses, creating businesses, and millions of dollars for our cities all across the state. And Governor Abbott was kind enough to recognize that. And my first appointment was to one of his biggest boards, which is the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank the Cooke County Republican Women for having us tonight. Thank you so much. My name is Ronny Jackson, and I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in Texas, a small town a little bit south of Amarillo, Lebanon, Texas. And I lived there my whole life. And about 25 years ago, I left Texas to join the military. I've been active duty in the Navy for the last 25 years. I'm an emergency medicine physician by trade. I'm excited about coming back to Texas. For the last 25 years, I've kind of moved all over the place, and it really hadn't been up to me too much where I live and where I call home. I've been all over the world, but I'm out now. I retired from the military on December the 1st, so I've been off active duty for about 4 weeks now. And whenever Congressman Thornberry decided he wasn't going to run for the 13th Congressional District anymore, I saw this as a unique opportunity for me, and I hope that you'll see it as a unique opportunity for the district for me to represent the 13th Congressional District. I grew up in a blue-collar, small town in Texas, and have blue-collar, small-town values. And I think I can identify with the folks here in the 13th Congressional District. I think I share your values politically, socially, economically, and I'm very excited about potentially representing the district. So thank you so much for having me.
Hi everyone, my name is Neese, and I want to again thank you for this opportunity to be here, and thank you for hosting it, and thank you for your service and all those who have served. I grew up in that lifestyle. My father's retired from the Air Force, his father was in the Navy, and I learned very quickly moving around wasn't what I wanted for my son. So we found a place to settle in Bowie, Texas, which is called Sunset, Texas. If you've ever been by there, you drive through it. Just wave at us because we're way off the side of the road. We're a little ranch out there, and we love it. But what I learned from my dad was this: that flag is valuable. It's not the cloth. It's not how it's set. It is the fact that it represents the best of who we are. And it really annoys me to see someone disrespect it. About 3 years ago, I went and got tickets from Matt Thornberry to go and see Trump's inauguration with my son. And it was amazing. And to be there with people who I felt were true patriots and who value that flag was an incredible experience. However, the next day, some of us men went to another rally, and that was a march where we saw some of the most disgusting stuff we have. And so I want to say this: my son hears this all the time. My life verse, if you want to send me, is this: I don't care what everyone else does. As for me and my house, we serve the Lord. And what I do is recognize that every person in this room is valuable because they are someone for whom Jesus died. I will not discredit you, but I will stand up for policy. I will stand up for that flag, and I will make sure that this country and this district is represented. I'm not here to tell you everything that I'm going to do. I'm here to ask you, whether you're a couple that I met that's just been married 10 years, attorneys, families, those that live in this district, my question is, how can I serve you?
Hi, my name is Josh Winegarner. I grew up in Spearman, Texas, and currently live in Canyon, Texas. My wife and I have 2 children. We raise Angus cattle, and I work for Texas Cattle Feeders Association. My wife is also on the Canyon School Board, and we're very involved in our community, and that's really why I wanted to get in this race. I have a passion for this district. I'm from this district, and I have the experience to make sure that we are adequately represented in Congress. I spent 6 years in Washington working for Phil Graham and for John Cornyn, first on the constituent service side, and then also in the legislative side. I worked on agriculture policy, trade policy, and small business issues. I know how to get things done, and for the last 14 years, I've been working for Texas Cattle Feeders Association, where I've worked on some of the bills that are important to us, like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Helped get that passed and actually made a change to it that would have negatively impacted the cattle feeders, the car dealers, and other small businesses in this district. I've also fought against the Green New Deal and a number of other regulatory issues. And the one thing that I learned while I was working for Senators Graham and Cornyn was this: when I got letters or phone calls from people, they didn't want the government to come and help them do anything. They didn't want a handout. What they wanted was the government to take their boot off the neck of those businesses and those individuals so they could run their lives, so they could run their businesses. And that's what I want to do. I want to be your voice and your vote on legislation and your advocate for those agencies. When you have a problem with the Social Security Administration or the VA, you need somebody in Washington that you can call to make sure is working for you. I'm that person.
Well, good evening. My name is Lee Harvey. I am from Wichita County. I'm a 2-term county commissioner there. I'm in my 2nd term. I'm a business owner. I've been married to my wife for 39 years, and I have 3 outstanding children and 4 beautiful grandbabies. Just like most of these guys, I'm for our Second Amendment. I am definitely pro-life. I go to the First Baptist Church, Burkburnett, Texas. And God tells us, thou shalt not kill. That's point blank, end of the line. I do think that we do need to secure our borders. But in doing that, I was talking with Josh earlier. We got to make sure that we revamp our green card system so that we can get our migrant workers in here to get our crops out of the field. If we don't have those workers, we're going to be looking at $10 a pound chicken. So they're very important to our ag business. I grew up in the oil field. I started out on the drilling rig, went to work for Halliburton, and then I spent 30 years in the refinery business where I climbed to the top of my business. I was a general manager for a TimeX group of companies, which is about a $300 million a year company. We've got a lot of experience. As a business owner, I've made a lot of payrolls. And that's what we need. We don't need somebody who's been on a government payroll or a payroll of anybody's. They don't know what it's like to make ends meet and lose sleep about whether you're going to make enough money to make payroll for your people. So you got to be frugal, and that's what I am, very, very conservative. I hope that you take time to go to my website, my Facebook page, and learn a little bit more about old Lee, because you can't learn very much in 2 minutes and 30-second answers to the question. So do your homework, do your due diligence, and pick a good candidate. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jason Foglesong. I spent the last 2 minutes praying that I don't stutter over everything I'm about to say. I teach government at Caprock High School in Amarillo. I've lived in the area for 10 years. I was not raised in this district. I was raised everywhere. My father was a chef for Hyatt Hotels, and we moved with his career. But I got here as fast as I could. Moving to Texas has been a blessing for me, and I've met my wife and had a great career here. And now I want to take that and fight for you and represent you in Washington, D.C. Pro-life, pro-gun. I do want border security, and I do want to build a wall. It's not because I don't like people south of the border, it's because I want to stop voter fraud, sex trafficking, drugs, and violence from coming across the border and threatening Americans. And in order to do that and still serve our community, I think we need to make E-Verify mandatory across all 50 states. That way, people who are here illegally can still work and still be a part of things. I also want to fight for your Second Amendment rights, because your right to keep and bear arms and defend your homes, families, and community is absolute, and we need to abolish those ridiculous, unconstitutional red flag laws. I will do what I can at all levels to fight for that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Well, good evening. My name is Elaine Hayes. I'm a certified financial planner from Amarillo, Texas. I am currently serving my second term on the city council there. I grew up just down the road from here in Wise County, Bridgeport. I played basketball there and went on to play collegiate basketball at TCU, where I studied business. I started my own financial planning practice 25 years ago, and it has been my focus and my life message of helping individuals, businesses, and now a city government live within our means and learn to live within what you take in. We don't have a revenue problem in our federal government, we have a spending problem. I keep getting asked a lot of the same questions across the district, so I thought I would answer those as opposed to continuing with my line out of my resume. Do you live in the district? Yes, I have, my whole life. I grew up in Bridgeport, and then I have been in Amarillo for the past 35 years. Do you support the president? I wake up every day and I'm so grateful that Hillary Clinton is not our president. I do not believe that the exposure of the corruption that has been going on in government was ever anticipated to have the curtain pulled back. And besides the policies that the president has been implementing with very little help, and in fact has been policies that the Republican Party has been standing for and promising us as voters for decades. I am a concealed carry license holder. My brother-in-law was a police officer in Denton for 25 years and taught me that I needed to be responsible and expect to be my own first responder, and then the police and fire were actually to back that up and be my second responder. I am a pro-life supporter, have been involved in the pro-life movement for decades. I volunteered as a counselor in Amarillo at 2 different pregnancy centers. I served on the CareNet Pregnancy Board for 6 years, 2 years as president. I'm Elaine Hayes, and I would greatly appreciate your support March 3rd.
Hi, I'm Diane Knowlton. I live in Henrietta in Clay County, about an hour down the highway. I'm a lawyer there. I have about 25 years experience in business and business law. I started out as a CPA, doing financial audits and also cost accounting for government contractors. I went to law school, practiced corporate law for a few years, and now I'm practicing law in Henrietta. I also have some experience working in Washington for a few years. I was a consultant to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, helping them with their administrative procedures, helping them make those procedures more efficient to save money and just get more done. There are a lot of issues facing our nation and our district, but I'm going to talk about 3 since I probably have a minute or so left. We need to protect our constitutional rights. First Amendment, Second Amendment, even the presumption of innocence is under attack. So freedom of speech, freedom of religion, it's unbelievable. There are some people who actually want to restrict freedom of speech or even repeal it. We also have to continue with the goals and accomplishments of the Trump administration. So the economy has improved. We have more border security now. We need to continue with better border security. We've done a good job of working to defeat ISIS, but there are many other international threats as we've seen in the past few days. We need to keep working on that. And in the midst of all that, we still need to reduce government spending across the entire government. I had that experience working to make government agencies more efficient, and we need to require agencies, all of the agencies, to do that kind of process improvement to save money for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. I'm going to make one more plea for Jamie Colley. And with no answer to that, we're going to go on to our questions. So this is in random order just to save time. Y'all are doing really good at saving us time. So this order will be from A to Z by the first name. So the question is, hold on. I'm sorry. That's question 2. Question 1 is ordered by Secretary of State. So, with the question being, what specific policy would you work toward to reduce federal spending? So we're going to start with number 1, Catherine I Swear Carr. She's not number 1, but first.
First of all, I would reduce federal spending by fighting hard against the Democrats because they predominantly waste money, and a lot of the bills there was 2,000 pages plus and no one read these bills, and when you read them, it was a waste of money. I would also stop and get out of the war in Afghanistan because it has cost us trillions of dollars for 19 years and has not been won, and they will not let us win it. And that's also a waste of money, and do other things for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is Chris. Ekstrom. Candidate.
We have a short period of time, but let me just say this. I'd like to see the Ted Cruz proposal of eliminating 5 departments and 26 agencies enacted.
The next candidate is Jason Foglesong.
I think my idea of making E-Verify mandatory would reduce the number of illegal immigrants in the United States, which would also reduce the number of fraudulent benefits claims and save the taxpayers a lot of money.
Thank you. So again, the question is, what specific policy would you work toward to reduce federal spending? And the next candidate is Lee Harvey.
Where to start? There's a lot of things out there that we need to revamp. We're guilty of having a good intentions when we put these bills out. And when we see that they don't work, we're not big enough to go back and fix them. So if you want to just pick one bill, I think I would go with welfare. I think our welfare system is so abused that we need to revamp it completely.
Thank you. And the next candidate is Elaine Hayes.
Policy-wise, entitlement reform is going to have to be focused because it is such a large percentage of our federal budget. Looking at specific departments, I support reducing the EPA. The Obama administration doubled that department the first year. I support reducing that back to its original size, as well as eliminating the Department of Education at the federal level and returning it to state and local control.
Thank you, Elaine. The next candidate is Rich Herman.
Hey, this is an easy question. Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to eliminate Planned Parenthood because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Y'all give me a hand for that. Get rid of the abortion and the baby killers, and we save money. Thank you. Next person.
Next candidate is Ronny Jackson.
What I would do is I would support and propose a complete audit and a serious audit of every department in the United States government. I'm a firm believer that you can reduce the number of, the bureaucracy is huge right now, and it's overwhelming. You can reduce the number of folks in almost every department across the board by 30 to 50%, and never know anything happened, other than things would get a lot faster and more efficient in government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronny. The next candidate is Diane Knowlton.
We need to require every agency across the board to do the kind of process improvement I talked about in my introduction. Congress can pass laws requiring the agencies to do things like that. I worked on a project at CBP where one administrative task took 5 people. We got it down to 1 or 2 people. So imagine how much money we could save if we cut spending by 60 to 80% on administrative procedures.
Thank you, Diane. The next candidate is Matt McArthur.
"30 seconds, hell, 30 hours is not enough time to talk about government waste. We're going to have to set up a watchdog and go through all of them. Department of Defense, we're probably going to have to go through the Justice Department, at least certainly EPA. The downside to going at this point is I get to listen to everybody's answers and it sounds like a copy. But I think the Department of Education should probably go. I agree that EPA needs to be cut back severely. And we need to take a good hard look at all the grants we're giving people to do just off-the-wall stuff like study the Northern Lights. Thanks.
Thank you. Next candidate is Mark Neese. Again, what specific policy would you work for to reduce federal spending?
Absolutely. The first thing I would do, I'm an educator, is really revamp the Department of Education. I'm tired of their policies. I'm tired of their red tape. I'm tired of not helping kids because they want to tell me what to do. And in Texas, I don't like it because I don't want to do what DC tells me to do. After that, I would take a look and say, every department give us 10% of a decrease, write it down, put it in place. If you can't do that, you're going to lose 20%. Let's get serious about cutting our stuff.
Thank you, Mark. The next candidate is Asusena.
All right. So my biggest frustration and what I would work on most is immigration reform, because I have been subject and worked with so many nonprofits that are receiving state and federal funding for money that we don't follow as a government. So we need to follow the money and take that, put it in our defense, put it in our educational system, and so many more things, because that money belongs to us.
Thank you. Next candidate is Vance Snider. The second.
Thank you.
Overall, it's got to be, ending up and eliminating all the stupid spending we have going on over in foreign countries. We spend too much time and money trying to make friends, give money. And look where we're at right now with Iran. We gave $1.7 billion in cash to Iran, and plus another $1 billion in assets to them, and look where we're at right now. But you know what? We did blow that one guy out of the water, so.
Thank you. The next candidate is Josh Winegarner.
I think the first thing we have to do is eliminate the fraud that's taking place in many of our mandatory funding programs. And the second thing we need to do is to put all agencies under sunset review, just like we have at the state, and make them justify their existence.
Thank you, Josh. And then the last is Monique.
Hello again. What I would do, the first thing is propose a balanced budget amendment and support a convention of the states if we can't get a balanced budget amendment. I think we need to deport all the illegal immigrants, because if Eisenhower could do it way back when, then we can do it now. We need to get rid of the Department of Health and Human Services. We need to get rid of the Department of Education, and we need to get rid of one more thing: Department of Human Services, Education, and there was one more, I can't remember what it was. But we need to get rid of it. Ain't no worrying about it. Just get rid of it.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you all for answering that question. And the next question is going to be answered in the order of first names A through Z. And the question is, what do you see as the biggest foreign threat and why? So we're going to start with Asusena.
Sing it. Asusena.
We're
going to work on this together.
Asusena.
That's great. Oh, thank you so much. Does that count toward my mic? Okay. Will you repeat the question?
Yes. So what do you see as our biggest foreign threat and why?
Our biggest foreign threat to me is domestic, because we don't have enough money going towards our defense system. So when we're looking at the money that we are setting aside for our defense budget, it's not enough. So we are allowing all of the terrorists, the people that want to kill us here, without giving them enough money to actually spend and keep us safe.
Thank you, Asusena. Next is Catherine, I swear, Carr.
I think that our biggest threat is Sahara law in this country. Every day we have schools that are teaching Sahara law, and that's associated with pedophilia. And I don't want 6-year-olds married, I don't want 9-year-olds married, and I really think that we need to shut this down. I'm for people, but I'm not for the ideology. It's a threat to our country, and we really need to stop it. And I want America to be a Christian nation, and I just don't want Sahara law in this country, and I would like to shut it down.
She means Sharia.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. The next candidate is Chris Ekstrom.
We have a lot of threats. Iran obviously is highly disruptive. Small countries sometimes start big wars, if you look at World War I. But the largest scale problem we have is with China, and the president is addressing the problem. Now, we certainly want our farmers to be able to do well, and I believe they will be doing very well with these new arrangements, but it's time to get that relationship in order, and very few people in Washington, D.C. wanted to do that except for President Trump. Thank God for it.
Thank you, Chris. Next candidate is Diane Knowlton.
The biggest ongoing foreign threat is terrorism. The problem is it's not any single country or any single entity. There was Al-Qaeda, there was ISIS. The indoctrination is very difficult to trace, and the money is very difficult to trace, but we do have good men and women working on that, and we have to continue that fight. We don't want to see anything like 9/11 again. We have to protect our interests overseas and here.
Thank you, Diane. Our next candidate is Elaine Hayes.
Well, I would say that our foreign threats are on two different levels. From a military threat, I would say Iran. They are the largest sponsor of state-sponsored terrorism. On an economic front, I would say China. Their theft of our intellectual property, their currency manipulation, and their trade imbalances.
Thank you, Elaine. Next candidate is Jason Foglesong.
I agree with some of my partners up here. It's definitely terrorism coming out of the Middle East. And part of the problem is that no matter how genuine and honest we want to be when we pursue peace, a lot of those folks follow a religion that encourages them to lie and deceive infidels, which is all of us. So the best way to deal with them is probably through missiles and bombs like we have in the past.
Okay, if I may interrupt just for a minute, this is where we would have Jamie Colley, and I just want to make for sure that if somebody will get my attention, if she does come into the room, otherwise I'm not going to mention her name again. Okay, so the question was, what do you see as our biggest foreign threat and why? And the next one is Josh Winegarner.
I think that the ongoing terrorism is our biggest threat, and what makes it most vulnerable, is the fact that we haven't built the wall yet. And we have to be able to secure our border to keep people that want to do us harm out of our country. In addition to that, I do believe that China is also, in addition to manipulating currency, stealing our technology, and that is an ongoing threat, especially when it comes to cybersecurity also.
Thank you, Josh. Our next candidate is Lee Harvey.
Okay, let's get this straight. Josh stole my answer. He did. So he's right. And what's a blessing is you've got 15 candidates up here that are educated about our needs. China's a huge economic threat to us. Iran, the terrorism that comes from that. I mean, we've got to have our military up to snuff. We keep peace through strength. So yes, China, Iran, the folks that come through Mexico and cross our border are not just South Americans. Sorry.
Thank you. And the next one is Mark Neese.
I also agree that terrorism is the biggest threat that we have because they're willing to kill in any way they can. The other threat that I see is something that people don't speak much of, is in education. The number of people in India who are getting degrees and coming over to our country is incredible. And I believe it's difficult for us to offer jobs at a compensation that American students graduating, many of them can't find jobs or are unwilling to work. Americans, for the price of people coming over, I think that's an immigration issue, and I'm happy people do great things, but that's a concern.
Thank you, Mark. Next candidate is Matt McArthur.
Just so I'm stealing everybody's answers too, I think there are two threats. One is China, like they're all pointing out, the economic line of China and the problems they cause and getting out of hand. The other thing we need to consider is actually our national debt. Right now, so many of our T-bills are being held by countries that don't like us, China, Saudi Arabia, places like that. If they wanted to wreck our country, they can't touch our military, but they can crash our dollar. And that's something we have got to get on top of.
Thank you, Matt. The next candidate is Monique Worthy.
Everybody up here is right as far as foreign threats go, but when it comes to our biggest foreign threat, my answer is Democrats. Because if you look at their policies, no, seriously, if you look at their policies, they all seem to support foreign people. Every legislation they pass is in support of foreign people in some kind of way. If it wasn't for Democrats, we wouldn't have to be dealing with China right now. If it wasn't for Democrats, we wouldn't have nuclearized enemies that hate us. Remember, all these nuclear countries got their nuclear weapons under Democrats, not Republicans.
Herman.
You know what? Everybody got it right. I'm going to tell you right now, when you get home tonight, if you got mamas or daddies or senior people sitting at home watching TV, you tell them the United States of America has the greatest military that's ever been created. We can go anytime, anywhere, and win.
Thank you, Richard. And the next candidate is Ronny Jackson.
Thank you. I believe that currently our biggest foreign threat is our unprotected borders, and I'll tell you that the drugs, the crime, and the potential for terrorists to cross our borders is going to eventually destroy our country from the inside. And if you don't think that that's the plan for a lot of those countries out there, like China and Russia, is to destroy us from the inside, you're just wrong, because that's a big part of their plan is to destroy us from the inside out. So I think that's a big problem for us.
And Democrat-like Republicans got open borders.
The next candidate is Vance, Snider II.
Just like elementary school, having a D for your first name is difficult being the last. A lot of these answers are all great answers, And a lot of them simple, and a lot of them the same ones I would answer. Terrorism, everything immigration, and border, securing our southern border. Securing the southern border, people spend about $10,000 to $15,000 to have to always bring them over here. Remember, you can spend $1,000 to $3,000 per person to come over here legally. And that's a large foreign threat because they come over here not paying taxes, whereas they come over here legally.
Thank you. So that completes our question 2. All of you are using our notes sheet that we provided with each of the candidates' information that was provided from the Secretary of State website. Now, on to our third question. It's simple. What do you see as the biggest issue facing Congress? And we're going to do this by order of last names, Z to A. So Monique Worthy is first.
I didn't even get a chance to think about it.
The question again is, what do you see as the biggest issue facing Congress?
Democrats and Democrat-like Republicans. Right. Because we keep saying that we want something done, yet we keep electing the same people. The same people get us. If we keep electing these perfect politicians, we're going to keep getting imperfect results. Democrats.
Thank you, Monique. The next candidate is Josh Winegarner.
So I think that the biggest issue is members of Congress that don't listen to their constituents, that don't actually represent their districts, but are up there for themselves and themselves only. And then I would also say that it would be from the rise of the socialist members that are in Congress that are pushing policies that just go against our way of life.
Thank you, Josh. The next candidate is Vance Snider II. Yes. What do you see as the biggest issue facing Congress?
What we're usually facing today is that we have too many people that have been there for 20 to 30 years. Everybody can go up here and preach term limits all they want. They can sign a piece of paper stating that they're going to do term limits, this and that. But it's not going to happen unless you kick out all the incumbents and get fresh bodies and fresh people in there. And that's where I'm at. I'm a normal everyday guy. I'm a blue collar worker. I want to get in there. I want to start a revolution to get other people like myself in there. And we start taking our country back over and take our government back over to control.
Thank you, Vance. The next candidate is Asusena.
You're doing great. Okay, so for me, you know what, no, before I go further, repeat the question because I have something else to say.
What do you see as the biggest issue facing Congress?
It would be the Democrats, and I absolutely agree with Mr. Snider that you can't have any movement and tell everyone that Congress is not doing their job if no one is doing their job. So we really need to bring back the policies that are in hand and in place right now by President Trump.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Mark Neese.
I believe there's two things. One is educated for 25 years helping families. When mom and dad are fighting, the children suffer. And I'm tired of seeing this country suffer because people can't do what they need to do for others. The other thing is, we have horses, we have donkeys. I love donkeys, but they don't need to be in the house.
Thank you, Mark. The next candidate is McArthur.
The biggest threat to Congress, especially the House of Representatives, is politicians. We've got to start holding them accountable, as Vance and a couple other people have said. We've also got to start putting working people in it. Blue-collar people, people that are not just lawyers and the same political hacks that go there and stay for 30 years. We've got to put regular Americans there, and I'm going to ask this of you, if y'all elect me, hold me accountable. And if y'all elect one of them, hold them accountable too, because that's the only way it gets fixed.
Thank you, Matt. The next candidate is Diane Knowlton.
The biggest issue facing Congress is the division between the parties. We can't get anything done because no one will work together. Look at the impeachment process, impeachment was never meant to be a partisan political process. Look at the Kavanaugh hearings a year or so ago. That confirmation process was never meant to be so political. We have to find some things that we agree on as Americans and what's important to us all as Americans.
Thank you. The next candidate is Ronny Jackson.
I think the biggest problem we have with Congress right now is the unbridled hostility from the liberal left directed at President Trump right now. And I think that, we're in a situation right now where there's a lot of things out there that could be happening that satisfy both sides of the aisle, things that are good for the American people in general. But right now we're in a situation where people are so hostile towards the president, they would rather see that not get done than see him get a win. So I think that's a huge problem right now.
Thank you, Ronny. The next candidate is Richard Herman.
Ronny said exactly what I was going to say, with the exception that I would take the small things first that we do agree on and learn to get along a little bit better, and let's get some work done. That's the biggest problem over there right now, is everybody forgot they're over there to do a job. And they're too busy showboating on TV and talking smack to each other. That's what I think.
Thank you, Richard. The next candidate is Elaine Hayes.
A large issue in Congress is our tone. We no longer debate policy. We make everything personal, and people who disagree are evil, and there is no room for dissent. We definitely have to change the way we talk and be able to disagree without being disagreeable. But we also have to address our growing national debt. Even just 5 years ago, we were at 17 trillion. We are now over 23 trillion. Our revenues this last year grew at 4%, but our spending was still up 6%. That's unsustainable.
Thank you, Elaine. The next candidate is Lee Harvey.
Well, if I remember the question, it said, what policies are we talking about? So if I'm gonna skip all of them.
The question is, if I may restate it, what do you see as the biggest issue facing Congress?
Okay, we get down to policy, I think there's two. We need to reform our health care. Obamacare needs to be put in the trash, and we need to start over. And we need to do immigration reform. Those are the biggest issues that we need to stop all this crazy stuff and get to work on. Medicare is so cumbersome. 35% of our medical costs is administrative. We're killing ourselves with, we're killing ourselves.
Thank you. And the next candidate is Jason Foglesong.
All of these answers that you've heard tonight are correct. It's partisanship. It's not that Democrats have good or bad ideas, because we wouldn't be sitting here if we thought they did. But they're so deranged by their hatred for Trump, and everything is measured by whether or not you are pro-Trump or anti-Trump, that nobody comes to the table to have these good or bad ideas heard. And this is a danger more than just Congress. This is a danger to our society, because it's getting to the point where average people in America can't talk to each other anymore and disown their own family members over politics.
Thank you, Jason. Next candidate, Chris Ekstrom.
The most important issue facing Congress is the wall. The wall needs to be built. And open borders people on both sides of the aisle are preventing that, particularly lobbyists who put the interests of their various supporters over the interest of the United States. We must have a border to have a nation.
Thank you. And our last candidate is Catherine Carr.
I really think the biggest issue is the Democrats trying to destroy America. They won't work with our president, and they don't care about the American people first. And I think that we have to put us first. I also know that there's $21 trillion missing, and no one's even looking for it. And waste is another problem with them. Paper play and everything else. We must have integrity in our politics. I want to take the House back, and I want to stand for conservative spending and policies such as that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for answering so now is the time for our closing. So we're gonna start at this end of the table. And if you would, you're welcome to speak on anything you would like. And if I may say that we are ahead of schedule because we didn't stop and clap and we didn't do a lot of introductions between. Would y'all like to take a vote if y'all would like to have a minute and a half versus a minute?
I'd like to make a motion that we have a minute and a half.
I can do this, I'd like to amend that motion. No, I think we have more time than that. Would y'all like to speak longer? Would y'all like another 2 minutes? Yes.
Sure. Let them decide.
We're going to do questions from the audience on your own right after. So, Carrie, could you come here just a minute to the podium? Give you 2 minutes each, so we are now doubling our time. Would you like that? Okay, so timer, Bob, ready for 2 minutes, and we're starting. Thank you.
Well, again, I'm Diane Knowlton. I would love to be the next representative of this district. I go back 5 generations in Clay County. And I would really love to give back to all of the people of this district who have meant so much to me and who have been so important in my life. Apparently I'm the last person on the ballot in Cooke County, so just go right on down to the end of the list and I'll be right there, so it's easy. There are many, many issues we've talked about tonight. It's impossible to list them all of the important ones, even in 2 minutes. But some of the ones I mentioned that are very important to me are constitutional rights, continuing with the successes of the Trump administration, reducing spending. We do also have to fight against the socialist policies that are creeping up. I expect Trump to be reelected, but Democrats in Congress are going to be pushing for some of that socialist agenda you hear from Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. The other thing I want to say, what I want to remember about tonight, is the reason we have 15 great candidates here is because we live in a country where we can step up and say, I would like to help run my own government. And a lot of people around the world don't have that opportunity. So that's what I want to remember tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane Knowlton. Next, Elaine Hayes.
Well, thank you guys for all being here tonight. Thank you for organizing it and running it so smoothly. As you've heard from all the candidates, we do share a lot of the same values. I would say that one of my important things has been that I have been taking action on all these issues. I am not just pro-life, I have spent countless hours in the trenches, volunteering counseling in front of ladies that are facing a crisis pregnancy. I have also not only talked about supporting term limits and believing that it is not supposed to be a career, but actually a season of service, and then people return back to their communities and live under the laws they helped create. And I actually ran against a 20-year incumbent to give people that opportunity to be able to have a choice and to limit the term of service for a representative. We talk about the Republican Party being the party of fiscal responsibility. I actually ran for office at local politics and have worked on helping balance those budgets In 2 of my first years, the budget that was presented actually had tax increases above what voters had approved. And I spent multiple hours working with staff to be able to bring that back down to only have levels that had been improved for specific projects by voters, and voted against this year's budget because it did have a non-voter approved tax increase. And at the same time, coming up with creative ways to grow our economy. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to take that background, my experience, my financial skill set to Washington to represent you. And I would appreciate your vote on March 3rd. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Elaine Hayes. Next is Jason Foglesong.
I think you all know where I stand right now. The one thing I didn't tell you earlier, because I knew as soon as I passed the mic, I'd remember something I wanted to say. And one of the things that aggravated me the most about politics in the last 10 years is that I have met very few of my representatives. I promise, if you elect me, I will be in your district, in your communities, in the evenings and on the weekends, available for you to meet with me, so that you, who have jobs and lives outside of politics, can come out and talk to me and tell me what you need. I think accessibility is very important. Also, in addition to E-Verify, I think we need a national voter ID. It's not racist to show your ID to buy a gun or to buy cigarettes or alcohol, and it is not racist to have to show your ID to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Foglesong. Next is Lee Harvey.
I want to say this is the first time that I've had all of these candidates in one room, and this is fun stuff. We're all good Christian Republicans, and we have core values that align a lot. So you just got to ask yourself as a voter, why on earth would I vote for Lee Harvey? I mean, come on, what's different between Lee and these fine folks up here? And you just have to go and do your research and accept the fact that you got somebody that set your tax rate before, which I'm not real proud of that, but has to be done, that has run a business, met a payroll. I'm very generous to my community. I have a charity cooking team that we have about 90 members, and last year we served about 10,000 meals for free in the Wichita County area. We support our senior citizen centers, our volunteer fire departments, Special Olympics, child welfare boards, the children's home. So I've spent my life campaigning for this job and didn't even know it. So anyway, check us out. Do your research. Learn who you're voting for. And that's all I have. Thank y'all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Lee Harvey. Josh Winegarner.
Thank you again for being here and participating in this process, and thank you for having us here. I believe that God has blessed me with talents and opportunities, and as a steward of those gifts, it's my responsibility, my obligation to give back, to honor Him, and to give back to the community. And that is what I want to do as your member of Congress. I have demonstrated that I understand how to get things done in Washington. I've been doing it for the men and women in agriculture for the last 14 years. And I want to continue that for everyone on these issues. And I agree with what Jason said, that we need to be accessible. I intend to be back in the district on a continuous basis. My family and I have talked about it. They will remain in Canyon because I want my kids raised in a small school. I don't want them raised in Washington or Maryland or Virginia. I want them raised in Canyon, Texas and Randall County because they need to have the same opportunity that I had to grow up and to learn. And I want that for them to show their heifers at the livestock show and still be part of my church. That's another thing that I'm really passionate about and want to make sure that we continue to come home and be part of the community. It doesn't matter if it's at the bank or the grocery store. A constituent needs to be able to approach you and say, hey, you did a great job, or hey, that was really dumb. Why did you take that on? Or why did you do it that way? But we need that report card, that feedback on a continual basis to make sure that we really are representing your interests in Congress. I think one of the other things that I want to point out is that a lot of the problems we've discussed here today are because the people on the West Coast and East Coast think they know more about us than we do. They think that we have problems that they know how to fix. They've got a lot of answers for problems that don't exist, and I think that's part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh Winegarner. Mark Neese.
Thank you again. Thank you for putting this together, and for everyone coming and staying for this time. It's been a wonderful evening, and I appreciate being able to speak. Again, one of the things I say is I stand for the flag. It's meaningful to me, and I spell it F-L-A-G, but faith for me is the first part. That's vital. It's who I am. It's what I do. Leadership is the second. Being a member of the welfare board, working on organizations like Head Start. Head Start is in this community. There's also Catholic Charities who work with the colleges to get kids out of poverty. All I do for 20-something years is say, how can I help you? And then I find the resources to do it. And I don't care who gets the credit. And I'm telling you this, there's a few of my people that I know that are Democrats, and they help kids too. So I think we can work together to really do great things. And speaking of kids, I say this because my son travels with me. Thank you for bringing students. Thank you. Give them a hand for being here, because this is the future of our party and our society, and we need to acknowledge it. Because to me, when we talk about those things, when we talk about who we are, to me, we talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for ourselves and our families. Life, to me, life from conception. My wife's adopted, and my son, I can't imagine someone saying, oh, there's circumstances that your wife should not be here, should be killed. I will fight for that. I will fight for reversing that, and I will fight for the life of every child and woman and support them forever to do the things that we're called to do. Liberty by election, and that's why we need kids here. If we don't vote, and then we are telling Democrats, you take over and do what you want, and I'm unwilling to do that. I'm unwilling to do that, and with my family, with my friends, and anyone around me knows you gotta go vote. Regardless of who it is, get out and vote March 3rd. And so life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness from direction. My goal in life is to point people to a God that loves them. I think that is my job and our calling, and if in the process I can help serve you and find a solution to your problem, it's what I want to do. 2 things I ask, 2 things. Pray for peace, vote for Neese.
Thank you, Mark Neese. Next, Ronny Jackson.
That's in the house deal. Come on now.
So I'd just like to also say thank you for having me tonight and for allowing us all this opportunity to speak to you. And I'll just echo Lee in saying that, the first thing to point out is there are a lot of great candidates in this district, a lot of people that come to the table with unique skill sets and unique things they have, tools in their toolbox that they can bring that'll make a difference in the district. Like Lee was saying, I guess you got to ask yourself, what differentiates us. And what I'll tell you is, I didn't say this in the opening, but, for the last 3 years, I've been a senior advisor for President Trump. And I think what that does for me, after having served in the military for the last 25 years, and the last 3 years of that in the White House with the President, is, when Matt Thornberry's been serving in this district for 25, 26 years, he's done a great job. He's got a lot of authority. He chaired committees. He's the ranking member on committees now. When he speaks, people listen. He's got a big voice. When he's got a problem with the district, people want to know what that problem is and how they can help fix it. And what I'll tell you is the day that he leaves that job, that is gone for the district. And the district's going to have a freshman congressman or a freshman congresswoman in the district, and they're going to have zero influence until, for a long period of time, for 4 to 6 years, maybe 6 to 8 years, until they develop enough tenure that they have a voice in the House. And this has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with Ronny Jackson, but just the circumstances as they are. But I represent the exception to that, and I say that because for the last 3 years, I've developed relationships. And the president's going to get reelected, and he's going to be in office for another 5 years. So for the next 5 years, when President Trump's in office, I have the ability to reach in and to make a difference from the district from day one. I know every single one of the cabinet secretaries. I know them on a first-name basis. I have their cell phone numbers. I know folks in the West Wing, the Chief of Staff, the Deputy Chief of Staff, the National Security Advisor, the Director of Domestic Policy Council. And when I have an issue, they're going to want to help me figure out what the issue is for the district and how we can fix it. And I will probably be, one of the few people that can walk into the Oval Office unannounced and tell the President of the United States, "Sir, I need you to stop what you're doing. I have an issue I need to address with you, and I need you to listen to me," and he will. So I think I just bring unique access, and like I said, it has nothing to do with me as a person, but just the positions that I've filled over the last few years. So thank you.
Thank you, Ronny Jackson. Next is Asusena.
Go back.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity to come out and speak with everyone as a new as a new Wichita Falls resident. I just want to tell y'all how great it is to be back in the 13th. Now, what I would like to share with my good friend Ronny, now I promise you that I can walk in and get a hold of some people, but probably not everyone that you could. But I guarantee you that here, everyone at this table has a relationship with a person that matters, that will meet the needs of each and every one of y'all. We have to identify those folks because everyone's not the same. Not everyone has the same issue in Gainesville as they do in Amarillo. Case in point, Amarillo. Recently, we just voted my very last vote in the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, which is by far one of the largest agencies here in the state of Texas. We made it a point to vote for Amarillo to compete with Lubbock, and it was only because we needed to lower the population 10,000 people. That's it. In order for them to compete for fair housing, for affordable housing, and bring that type of community in that's going to create a huge tax base. And I guarantee you that doesn't come easily. And those are the types of things that fire me up whenever we're wasting money needlessly and we are not able to sit here, speak to one another, speak to our representatives, and speak to them from the heart. And if we get passionate, you know, Latinos, if we get passionate, people get mad. But that's not the case. We want to make sure that we get out there and we reach out to the same folks. And you know what? If I don't know so-and-so, I'm calling Ronny, because I know him now. I'm going to ask him to get me that person. Thank you.
I hired that Ronny to be my doctor. Hey, got me an attorney, a doctor. You know what's funny? Last night on a radio interview, one of the biggest things was Wichita Falls' declination of population. They were declining and going backwards. Well, tonight I've discovered Wichita Falls is booming. Everybody's moving there. You know what I'm saying? Lee, the next time you're up here, I want you to go Trump. What do you got that nobody else has? Bigger hands. Okay? All right, that wasn't as funny as I thought it was. Everybody out there got grandchildren, or some of you do, I hope. Right? Quick story, my little granddaughter came up to me not too long ago and she says, Pappy, Grandma says you're OCD. And I said, she said, what? She said you're OCD. I said, that's bull. It's CDO. Get it in alphabetical order, girl. Anyway, as I've tracked y'all in my career, there's 2 dead jokes. I wasn't ready for 2 whole minutes, all right? We're going to make them ad-lib here, all right? We just killed it up until now. As I've traveled around, the biggest problem I've seen is economy and jobs throughout our district. We have plenty of jobs. Unemployment shows it's real low. The problem is that the jobs we have don't make a paycheck for most people. They're not covered in food you're trying to put on the table. That's going to be my main goal, and I want y'all to know that right now. I'm very good at creating business, and I'm good at creating businesses that pay well. I'm good at negotiating, okay? I am probably the best negotiator you've ever met. I could probably go out here and sell you your own car right now, just so you know that. I'm good at that. So I want y'all to vote me in office. I hate that thing. Vote me in office. It's pressure. Anyway, vote me in, and I'll take good care of you. I'm going to leave this with this right here. I believe in the family. I believe in Christian values. I believe in the same things each and every one of you do. One of the biggest things I believe in is when we empower our families, we empower Texas. And when we empower Texans, the opportunities are limitless.
Thank you. Mr. Herman, are you ready for Monique or?
Yes, I wanted to address some issues that was brought up. One of them being, if you being a freshman, you will have basically zero influence. My thing is, it just depends on who you are, where the influence will come from. Because guess what? AOC was a freshman. Look at all that influence she got over there on the left. So it's not a who you know type of thing. It's about how you can speak and who reveres you type thing. You know, because if AOC can go in there and get all that press she got, and I know I can. Because listen, one thing about it is you gotta have a big mouth when you go to Congress. Okay, because speaking softly but carrying a big stick does nobody no good, okay? Because listen, they said that about Obama, and his sticks got us in a bunch of you know? So, the thing is, it's not about you being the freshman person. You just gotta get there and talk what you know. The second issue is, I heard something about, my county commissioner say something about taxes. Well, taxes went up here recently by the county, so I just wanted to address that. And then another thing is, new resident. We have a new resident in Wichita Falls. We got a lot of new residents in Wichita Falls. So I just wanna know, after this race, who's still going to be those new residents in Wichita Falls? So, another issue is, why do we have a Democrat Congress? We have a Democrat Congress because we have had weak politicians, weak Republicans. What we need is strong Republicans, strong politicians. You can't go out there mumbling and grumbling, you know, not saying nothing, because you don't want to be seen as racist, homophobic, anti-this or anti-that. Say what you mean what you say, go out there and do what you gotta do, and everything will be okay. Stop being scared to go out there and address these Democrats, because they're going to address you, whether you address them or not. We have to get better politicians up there who know what they're doing, and not politicians, but regular folks up there who are willing to go out there and get some things done. And you can't get things done being quiet.
Harvey. Next is Vance, Snider.
Question I get asked a lot is what set you aside from the other candidates? That's easy. I've never been involved in politics, never ran for public office, and I don't have any political connections whatsoever. I didn't create a super PAC back in 2016 after my candidate was supporting Ted Cruz lost, campaigning against President Trump. And, you know, just to make sure that he didn't get the Republican GOP to put Ted Cruz in the presidency. I haven't been working in the White House the last 15 years. I haven't been working on the city council for the last 3 or 4 years. I haven't been working in the county commission. I've been working at the railroad, and I did suffer a 19-month furlough, so I know what it's like to get back down on your face and living paycheck to paycheck and making sure to take care of your family. That's where I am, and that's who I am. I'm a blue-collar worker. I know the struggles. I've been down the ditches, and I've been back up where I'm at now. And that's what I want to do for everybody else, especially in our district, where more, like I said earlier, more than 80% of our district is blue-collar workers. I haven't been a lobbyist for the last 15 years for the Texas Cattle Feed Association. You know, once again, blue-collar worker, middle class, just like everybody else. You know, when I was elected, I want to go to all 41 counties within our district every quarter, semi-annual, and do a town hall meeting with all 41 counties to make sure they know what legislation is being passed. Educate them, get their feedback. That way they know they do have a voice. Not just to worry about Amarillo and Wichita Falls, it's about worrying about the people of our district and make sure that every voice is heard. Thank you again for having me this evening. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your invitation.
Thank you, Vance Snider.
Well, I hope that you would not exclude me because you think that I'm from Austin. I actually have, my parents were married here in Wichita Falls. I have family in Amarillo. I related to White E. Eisenhower, he's in Sherman, it's in the district, and I also deeply love somebody from Gainesville, Texas, and my best friend that I ever had, her name was Resendiz, is from Gainesville, and we moved here when I was a child. I have been an inventor, so I know that I can solve problems, and I have also worked with Salvation Army. I have bell ring. I have my children bell ring. I have worked with the Red Cross. I was their operator, and I volunteered all of these things. When I was a child, I saw war, so I'm very familiar with war, and I know the devastation of it because I lived in Japan and saw the body parts and bowls of our servicemen, and I'm for the veterans. I also have studied law, so I'm very in tune with laws, and I also want equal access and justice and the Constitution to be followed for Americans. I believe that I'm the best candidate, even if I am from Austin, because I'm really family. And family can go away and they can come back. And I would hope that you would accept me as family, because I want to live here and I want to move here. And I know that I would do my very best for you and give you my all. When I started this thing, it was You know, at the time I was going to pay my filing fees, I took out a loan to represent you people, and I gave everything that I had to pay the filing fees. And I think that when a person gives their all, God has to respect it. And I wouldn't have done it if I didn't care for this community. And I also am a farmer. I've been a farmer, and so I understand about communities and small towns, and I love them.
And he's huge. Catherine, I swear, Carr. Matt McArthur.
Hi, we're almost done, I promise. You know, when I first shipped as a police officer, I knew was going to be awesome. I got a new badge, I had a bulletproof vest, and a 40 caliber Glock, and I made the uniform look really good about 15 years ago. And I got to level with you. There's no greater fun in life than driving down the highway with lights and movers on. It's a blast. But, and I know there's a few sheriff candidates in here, so check with them, fact check me. But what I really found is the difference with the job was not the kicking down a door and yelling at police or something like that. What really made a difference was the boring stuff, the writing a really good report, going back and taking some college English classes because I didn't pay enough attention the first time in St. Houston, and making sure that what I got across was important. It was learning to deal with victims, and not just victims that are victims, but, well, as one of my FTOs said, today's perp is tomorrow's victim, is tomorrow's witness, and God knows what will happen Thursday. And I learned you have to treat everybody the same. You have to see their issues. You have to see what's going on with them because they're all the same, and they're all different. The reason I'm running for this job is because I understand if we're intellectually honest about a U.S. House of Representatives seat, a lot of what we talk about will be really boring. Tax code, infrastructure law. It's one thing to say we support the military, but we really have to put effort into where things are built, how much we're going to spend on it, and also do some dirty work to cut the things. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't vote for me tonight, you're going to get a guy that's from this district, somebody who lives here, somebody who's worked with his hands and worked with the law. And I will also be the only potential lawmaker on this stage who has ever actually enforced one. So I'm also going to be the guy that thinks outside the box and make sure that we don't violate the most important law of unintended consequences. Thank you. Check me out at mattmacarthur.com.
Thank you, Matt McArthur. Chris?
I want to come out here just a little bit. I'm a lifelong businessman. I've been a political activist for a long time, conservative activist. I've helped get a lot of conservatives elected. I was endorsed by Ronny, who's down in Tarrant County. I helped him to win that primary and get up to Congress, and he's done a fine job. I intend to go up there and support President Trump's agenda, and that's the most important thing we can do now. We've had a truncated presidency for the last 4 years. He was not allowed to do his job. We've had the Russia hoax, and we've had the impeachment chamber. Now, in this 4 years, there's a lot of things that we have to get done. I've been fighting for conservatives and for conservative policies and values for a long time. I'm a full spectrum conservative. That means I'm a social conservative too, and I'm not shy about it. I'm unapologetic about our position. I'm not looking to hold the line. I'm looking to advance forward and to fight forward. And that's exactly what we need to do now when we have a president that's willing to fight. Fight the media, fight the people that basically despise our values in Washington, D.C. It is a swamp, full of lobbyists, full of people that thought that President Obama was good for the country. President Obama was the worst president we've ever had. And that mobilized people to finally wake up and realize Republicans have to produce. They can no longer go up there and say, I'm going to do all this stuff on campaign, do campaign conservatives, and not come through. It's time to deliver, and I'm going there to do that for y'all. And I ask for your vote. Thank you.